All right, you've built a tech product, you think it's really cool, but guess what? You're not alone. You're in what we call a red ocean, and you want to get into a blue ocean. Let me explain. A little while back, a book came out called Blue Ocean Strategy. This strategy helped people understand the difference between a red ocean and a blue ocean. See, a red ocean is full of people vying for the same niche market. And I hate to say it, but you think your product is really original? Unfortunately, your product has probably been tested out a few other times, but you're gonna make a difference. Let me tell you the story about Windows. Everybody thinks that maybe Bill Gates invented Windows. Not so. A little while back, there was a place called Xerox PARC. And in Xerox PARC, they had an open source area where people could come in and explore technology. Xerox was developing a software where your screen would not only show up, but it would have little tiny windows, also known as a GUI, a graphical user interface. Steve Jobs one day came in.
I'm Steve Jobs.
And looked at it and said, hey, that's a good idea. So while the software designer was sitting there at Xerox PARC, Steve Jobs went out and said, I got an idea for a software program that will actually break up programs into little windows that will float around your computer screen. Sounds simple, right? Then came Bill Gates. Believe it or not, they kind of knew each other. But this came before the computer. The computer was still in its infancy stages, but there was really no operating system around it. So people really didn't know what to do with it. Steve Jobs figured, I can do this. And he started building something that he sort of stole from Xerox. And then one day, Bill Gates went to IBM and convinced IBM that they had a software called...
It's called DOS.
That could run on their hardware.
Of course, we don't just want to sell it to you outright. We want to be able to license it to you.
You want to retain ownership?
Right.
Well, the profits are in the computers themselves, not this software stuff.
He didn't even have a DOS operating system.
Why did you tell them we have an operating system? We have a thing to sell them now, you know, we're dead.
We're not dead. You're going to give us that miracle, right, Paul?
Oh yeah, right.
Come on. You said you knew a guy who we could buy an operating system from.
They finally found someone who actually did have a disk operating system.
So basically, you're saying you want to buy my operating system.
Yeah.
And you're offering us
$50,000.
Oh.
Went back to IBM and said, ta-da, here comes our disk operating system.
DOS has 60 million users waiting. Time for them all to be upgrading.
Then Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak were inventing, yeah, that's right, the Apple, a very home-friendly version of the IBM computer. See, IBM focused on offices. Apple was focusing on the home.
Introducing Apple II, the easy-to-operate home computer. Just hook it up to your TV to create dazzling color displays.
And then Steve Jobs thought, I can somehow integrate this software into this computer here. Meanwhile, Bill Gates said, hey, wait a minute. I know Steve Jobs. What is Steve Jobs doing? What's this thing? It wasn't even called Windows back then. So what happened was, Bill Gates took his disk operating system and created what he called Windows.
How much do you think this advanced operating environment is worth? It's Windows from Microsoft!
That's what he started selling to IBM. And then they came up with a crazier idea. Hey, wait a minute. People are starting to buy computers for their home. I got it. Windows won't be just for the offices and big corporations. It's also going to be for the home. So that's when Windows 1.0 was invented. And there's a scene in one of the movies where Steve Jobs is furious with Bill Gates. And he goes,
We're better than you are. We have better stuff.
You don't get it, Steve. That doesn't matter.
That's the blue ocean in a nutshell. Steve Jobs and Bill Gates in the late 70s, early 1980s were in what was called a red ocean, where people all over the world were trying to figure out how to make this computer work. Well, they came up with something that was different. They left the red ocean behind and they went into the blue ocean. Would you say that what they did was really that innovative? Technically, the way that history writes it, it seemed like it was part of history. Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, Steve Wozniak, all their team in one big red ocean, and they went over to the blue ocean we're gonna go into a market and we're gonna target different people. We're not gonna target the office building people. We're gonna sell this computer so that they can understand how this works. And it's an audience that no one really suspects. Here's another example. A company came to me who made a really cool spill-proof coffee mug, and they wanted to make a Kickstarter video. Well, I said, let me ask you this. You have a room full of coffee connoisseurs, and you have another room full of Kickstarter enthusiasts. If you're doing a Kickstarter video and you entered into the room full of coffee connoisseurs and you want to sell them on the idea that you have a Kickstarter campaign, well, guess what? Only 5% of people in that room have ever backed a Kickstarter campaign. Now, you go into the room full of Kickstarter connoisseurs. Do you see where I'm getting at? You ask them, hey, I have a really cool spill-proof coffee mug. And guess what? 90% of the people in that room, if not more, drink coffee. Who's your target audience? The room full of coffee connoisseurs who don't really know much about Kickstarter, or the room full of Kickstarter enthusiasts who all drink coffee? That's right. This is your blue ocean right over here. This is your market. That's another example of going from a red ocean into a blue ocean. Here's one more example. A friend of mine came to me and he wanted to sell designer pickleball paddles. But he was targeting, yep, guess what? Pickleball enthusiasts. So I said, and I'll just use Joe. Joe, that's the red market you've been marketing to. You gotta find the blue ocean. You gotta go find the people who haven't heard of pickleball and educate them about pickleball and get them into pickleball. And by doing so, they will buy your pickleball paddle because they've gone down to, and I've discussed it in another video, the sales funnel. The sales funnel brought them to you. You've made them aware who you are. You showed them what the paddle does, and now they're ready to buy the pickleball paddles because you've got them into pickleball to begin with. Is your audience the pickleball paddle enthusiast, or is your audience about the pickleball newbies who have never or barely even played pickleball to begin with? That's right. That's the blue ocean. The newbies of pickleball is what I called it. That's the blue ocean strategy in a nutshell. You can read the book online. It's an awesome book. I've read through it twice. I'm going through it for a third time. And that's the difference between you and the competitor. Leave your competitor in the red ocean and you explore the blue ocean. All right, if you have any questions about blue ocean strategy, let me know. Leave a comment, DM me. I'll be more than happy to answer all your questions. I got 2 more videos for you to watch, so I'll see you in the next one.